about this awful thing which we've talked about before. And
Hiya.
oh, here we go. That's there's Matt. Hello there. Hello all. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Let me just bring up your documents so I know exactly what I'm talking about here. So we have Matt Hughill, who's been with us before. Matt was actually the person. Good morning there. Good morning. So we have Lynn Blackledge. Lynn, are you in the Isle of Wight? She's freezing. I'm
yes.
Sure.
Yeah, that's it.
There you go. Lynn's in the Isle of Wight. Matt is in Twickenham, southwest London. We have Hero Sumner. Can you hear me, Hero? Oh, there's no sounds for Hero and Kev for some reason. Then it's not showing any. Yeah, it's not showing connecting to audio. I know they're both trying to. So yes, so let's give people some background information while they're still connecting anyway, so we don't waste any time. So Matt came to us before, and BIDS basically is, in my opinion, and in many other people's, business improvement district. And this is a tax on top of a tax. This is, you know, that thing where you used to pay business tax, well, you pay business tax and then you pay this as well now. So to me, it is absolutely high street extortion that is taking place. Matt had been in some trouble with it. When Matt came on last time, we sent his video to the managing director of BIDS in his local area because she was very keen to hear it. Never heard anything back, even though I'd asked questions. Of course, I didn't hear anything back. So let me just see if Hero, have you connected?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, there you go. Hero Sumner, how are you, Hero?
I'm very well, thanks. Sorry about the late arrival and only having half a screen, but
no,
technicalities and all that.
Don't worry. And we're just waiting for Kev now. So, but let's carry on anyway. And Matt, you wanted to come back because we've just seen so many different things. We've seen the BIDS Rangers acting completely outside any authority, total thugs on the street. We've seen that in the national newspapers recently. But so, Matt, since you've been on with us, what can you tell us about any further developments?
So basically, it's all just been the same. My bid is up for vote again at the end of this year. There's been various shops that have got my back, although a lot of people don't want to put their face up, which I kind of find quite interesting. Because on my point of view, and a few people have said to me, they're a little bit concerned with how much involvement the council have. Because the council get paid to collect their money. In another borough, the council took almost half the money that the bid had collected. So the council are heavily involved, which is quite interesting because the council are meant to work for us, yet people are scared of the council being bullied and closing their business down or causing trouble for them, which is quite interesting when they're meant to work for us. But they keep maintaining they have no conflicts of interest, although in every borough, they tend to have people that work for the councils that are on their payroll, or not so much a payroll, but on the board. What's quite interesting is in the local paper on Thursday, March the 9th, Richmond and Twickenham Times, there was a big article on the front of the page saying how Twickenham, one of the capital's wealthiest boroughs, is facing a real crisis of empty shops and multiple banks closing. And
right.
One of the councillors who is on the board.
I think Kev's with us now, aren't you, Kev?
Right,
yeah, I'm with you now.
Good.
Sorry,
good.
guys.
No worries. Don't worry about it. Go on, carry on, Matt.
So yeah, one of the councillors who is lead member for business growth and also on the board has actually made a comment saying he doesn't have any clear action at the moment to talk to you about, but I do share your concerns. But yet around that time, they'd still sent the levy out threatening shops demanding money. So they've got no idea what to do, but they're still asking for money.
Right. So basically what we're dealing with is, so if you're not familiar with this, lovely viewers, basically what happens is there's a vote on whether you're going to have bids. But once the vote is sort of in favour of bids, it's mandatory, right? You then have to pay a yearly fee. Is that correct? Have I got that right?
That is, yeah.
Right. So Hero, I was looking at some of the stuff that you'd written online about it. Can you hear me there?
Yeah, I can, yeah.
And obviously the money is spent in the most peculiar ways, like, for example, so I think, are you in Whitby? I'm not sure. You're certainly up on the Yorkshire coast, aren't you? And am I right that they spent it on a giant puppet thing on the beach? What on earth is that about? I'm looking at the picture here. What is that exactly?
Well, it's a way of keeping a theatre company going, basically at the expense of businesses. The reason I was waving my hand about was because if I can go back sort of 5 years, and the reason that a lot of these people are here that are angry about the whole setup is the lack of democracy. You use the word vote,
Right.
and just because there's a vote, it doesn't mean it's set up democratically. And I'm
Right.
sure that if Lynn's with us, and Kev will know as well, having been a seasoned protester, that the way these things are set up, and I think this is the worst of it, it's the way it's set up in the first place. If they needed to carry out the underhand techniques that they do, which is by, for instance, not sending out ballot papers. And when you say, where's my ballot paper? Oh, it's in the post, it's in the post. And you can carefully select who you want to vote by not sending a ballot paper. And here on the Yorkshire coast, the thing that's enraged us the most is that from the very outset, it's not set up democratically, and it is all controlled by the council and the big company, and they let the information out, as they did in Gibraltar. They let the information out that they want to let out to the people they want to hear it. And then once and I can see Lynn's nodding her head because she's done her research on this as well. And of course, once the thing has been voted in, there's nothing you can do about it. We're fighting 5 years later. And our guys up in Yorkshire are going for, there's a third adjournment court hearing on the 26th of January. In the meantime, we've been proving that the way that they've sent the bills out, saying that the councils are acting as agents of the council.
Outrageous. Absolutely.
It is outrageous because it's not true. The councils are actually paying the bid to carry out the work, and they take it from the businesses. And yeah, it's the way it's set up that drives everybody nuts.
Lynn, so you have been nodding away there. Lynn, tell us some of your experience and why this is so infuriating for you.
Right, I'm actually not a levy payer. Okay, I'm a friend of the levy payers. I ran a network group for local businesses, and I have had my finger on it ever since it started 6 years ago. And suddenly things weren't making sense. People didn't know about meetings, people weren't getting ballot papers. And of course, then it came up for review. We've been a year into our second bid, and I was watching it closely, and people didn't have information. There were 1,580 levy payers on the island. It's for tourism. It's a tourism one here. Right. Can you hear me?
Right. Yes. Yeah. No, I'm just thinking about that's a fair amount of additional cash that they're raking in. Really, that's significant.
It is, and it's from the smallest tiny businesses up to much bigger businesses. But people didn't have ballot papers, and I'm still trying to work my way through the list because they make it so difficult for you to get the list at the time of voting. I could only have the list if I got permission from 5% of the list. They would give me the list, but how could I get 5% if I didn't have the list and I didn't know who was on it? They've got it sealed up. Absolutely, because there's a consultant they pay £50,000 to get a yes vote. No money for a no vote, just a little old granny here, and Mo Aswat is the consultant for lots of these bids around the country, and he wrote some of the government legislation.
That sounds like a conflict.
I'm in a bit of a. It does.
That sounds like a conflict.
We also have a conflict on the island in that Julie Jones-Evans is our tourism councillor, but she also sits on the Visit Isle of Wight board. Oh, for God's sake. So how isn't that a conflict of interest?
Absolutely ridiculous. So frustrating. Matt, I understand why you got frustrated in the first place. Kevin, tell us how this is. I think you're in Andover in Hampshire. Am I right, Kev?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
How is it impacting your business?
Well, we've had a massive conflict of interest down here in Andover. I've been against it from word go because I was actually threatened by one of the steering group that came to my business and literally threatened me and said to me, if I didn't get on board, there'd be serious consequences. So I said, well, what are the serious consequences going to be? And he said, well, we'll run you out of Andover. I said, well, good luck with that then, because I own the building.
Sounds like the mafia.
Believe me, I've been up in court. The council have taken me to court. I've just had a court case very recently that everybody knows about. The council took me to court because they didn't send me the financial summaries. I won the day in court. Basically, the council withdrew. And funnily enough, yesterday, I've just been sent a glossy sheet saying where they've spent their money. Now, one of the questions I've asked the Andover Town Centre Business Improvement District, now we can't call them Andover Bid because I own the name, the company Andover Bid, because I saw many years ago that businesses were going to be in distress at some stage, and I was going to open up a charity called Andover Businesses in Distress. So I bought the name Andover Bid.
Wow.
Here's the crux.
That.
They keep advertising on all their glossy work, Andover Bid. They are not Andover Bid. That is called trading off. That they can't do that. But we've had a massive conflict of interest where you've got the council. David Gleave from the council was on the steering group. He was very rude. I've had excrement all over my doors. I've had somebody urinate through the letterbox. We've had to screw the letterbox up, all because I wouldn't get on board. I fought this all the way down the line, because, you know, don't come to me and bully me to get me on board. All the little shops that are below the 10,000 rateable value, the ranges are going around. And now there's just been some figures released that 5,000 incidents, these bid ranges that we paid for, 5,000 incidents in Andover last year they attended. Hold on, that's 96 incidents a week.
What?
So split by 2 bid ranges.
Wait, no, this can't possibly.
That's 1 hour. That's 1 hour. You know, who in their right mind, if these people are meant to increase footfall, who in their right mind, after reading statistics like that, is going to want to come to Andover?
Well, exactly. And it's very bad publicity. Matt, you must. I mean, it's terrible publicity. And it absolutely clearly says in the press, these are bids ranges. So it looks absolutely terrible on them as well. Absolute thuggery. But Matt, I mean, so you got together with all these lovely people. I know there's other people that you've been talking to as well. Because I think at one stage you probably felt quite alone dealing with this, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I mean, you get shops say to you, we're behind you, we agree with you, we tried fighting it, but no one seems to want to put their face up. Whereas I've reached out, I found this group of people on a Facebook group and on another website, which is called againstbids.org, which shows you that there is a lot of people all across the UK. And it was as far as Gibraltar, although they've just had them shut down. And some people like Kev have beat them in court. There's other people like Hero and Lynn that are doing all their bit to do everything they can do. But unfortunately, from my point of view, until all the shops start speaking up, is it going to change if there's only a small few? And this is part of the problem. When people don't speak up and object to it, I mean, we're basically being robbed. So if I walked down the high street and walked into all these shops and robbed them, they'd be doing something about it. But because we're doing it, or the council are heavily involved, people shy away from it. But yet, in most people's mindset, we're still being robbed.
It's actually quite shocking here. I think it was you who was saying that it was the democratic angle about it that is so disturbing, because this literally sounds so totalitarian.
It is, absolutely. And I can tell you, I mean, I've worked very closely with councillors in Scarborough. And in the majority of cases, we got a lot of them on our side. You know, we held meeting after meeting after meeting, and they gradually started seeing the elected members, that is, started seeing why businesses were so angry. And we actually had about 400 or 500 out of the 1,200 businesses that refused to pay anything. And that's how we've managed to sort of keep that, if you like, true Yorkshire grit alive. Anyway, there were so many meetings with councillors and invited to audit committee meetings, and overview and scrutiny meetings. We actually lobbied to get Scarborough Council. They actually brought in a man by the name of Peter Stanyan, who's the chief executive of the Office of Electoral Administrators, to come in and investigate the way that the bid was set up here in Yorkshire. And he produced a 27-page result, which is worth a read if you've got the stomach for it. But it was, you know, it's actually on the Against Bid org website. And to the letter, he's followed everything to the letter. And you'll see that the words that he uses are, it was unfair, undemocratic, and very much because of the way it's set up. Just because a vote is held does not mean that it's held democratically.
Ooh,
and that is the one thing that really rankles. It's the undermining of our democracy. An interesting note on that was that because I was very vocal, I was never a levy payer. I'm a councillor, town councillor, and I'm a member of the Whitby and District Tourism Association. And I know a lot of the businesses that are involved and the strength of their passion. And they proposed me as their spokesperson, and I attended many meetings. They were meetings.
That's an interesting slip there.
With the Scarborough Council and my own council, Whitby Town Council. But interestingly enough, and I have had this confirmed, the last time I was invited to a meeting that involved the council and the bid company, I was precluded from that meeting. They wouldn't allow me into it. And it's subsequently been told to me that the people at that meeting from the bid, representing the bid, would not engage with me in any meeting, and if I was invited
Shocking.
or allowed into any meeting, they would withdraw.
Shocking.
And I've had that confirmed.
Absolutely shocking. Lynn, the people that you sort of represent and you help and you assist, how does this impact them on a day-to-day basis? Because stuff like this can really break you down when you're caught in such an unfair situation.
Well, I have the prime example that so last year, over 200 people were taken to court for not paying their levy. That's a heck of a lot, right? Okay. So one of them.
Oh, Lynn's just frozen a second. One of them. Hello?
Somebody told me about him. He was doing. So I went with him, and can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
right,
can hear
sorry.
you.
Yeah. So one of them, one of the very smallest ones, was due in court for not paying levy, and somebody told me about him. So I said, "Would you like me to go with you? I'm not legal, but I'm an ex-teacher who knows how to ask the questions that need to be asked that they don't want to answer." So I went with him, and he put his papers on the table, and he said, "I can't pay my rent on my business, and if I lose my business, I lose my home because it's above my business, and I have suicidal tendencies."
Oh dear.
So I mean, I didn't know that bit,
Right.
but and I'll call him Mr. X for obvious reasons. And the CEO of Visit Isle of Wight decided that he was going to adjourn and not dismiss the case. So I wrote the next day, horrified, telling him what I thought of that procedure and what might happen. And I also put on the bottom of the letter, I hope you've got a good policy of duty of care. I don't know a lot about it myself, but you know, I thought, let's put that. My email was opened 42 times because I have there
we go.
trackers. I have never had a reply from the. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Your email was open 42 times because you've got trackers. You've never had a reply. So it's
right.
been seen at least 42 times, probably by multiple people, and not one reply. Shocking.
Not one reply. So I went to the council and asked at the beginning of a council meeting, what value do they put on levy payers' lives? And the tourism officer tried to dismiss me. I put the request in email form, and they told me I was out of time. so I went.
I see what's going on here.
Yeah,
right.
I
So
went to
right.
court. I went down to the council on the meeting. Right. So Friday, I should have had it in by Friday. I wrote it on Monday for a meeting on Wednesday. I got to the council. I was actually just incubating pneumonia at the time. I nearly died, as you know, because of the pneumonia. Anyway, I've lived to tell the tale. Good. And the councillor for tourism said, she tried to stop it there and say, oh, well, I'm going to answer Mrs. Blackledge's email. But they told me I was out of time with my email.
Yeah, no, it just sounds like they'll say anything that fits the bill at that moment in time. Kev, as somebody who's successfully gone up against this system, what advice could you give somebody who's just encountering it?
I think the biggest problem that anybody's got with the council and the bid is there's no transparency.
Right.
And they will go to any length to get you to court to pay this levy. Any length at all. You know, I was the last time I was in court, the following day I was meant to be in a hospital for a major thing for a test for testicular cancer. Now I was forced to come over to the court, so they dragged me all the way from Ireland to say, why haven't you paid the levy? Now I'd already sent them an email to say, you know, if you intend to take me to court, please let me know, because I can arrange then to get on the plane.
Yeah.
Well, so now my levy is, or they want £865 a year out of me.
That is considerable for a small business, for example.
There is a cost of living crisis, for goodness sake. My mortgage has gone up by £1,000 a month. £1,000 a month. So on the day, they wanted £865. They withdrew, but my costs involved in flying over and boarding my dog, etc., come to nearly £1,000. But one of the things that you're up against as well is, and what I can't get my head around is, during the pandemic, when we was all told to stay at home, don't go out, don't do this, don't do that, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. The bid spent £79,500 on business support. Now, when you look at their figures for last year, supposedly before, and what their plan to spend this year, 74,000. Hold on, they were given grants, they were given furlough.
Yeah.
Why would they demand full payment from all the levy payers when they was given exactly what everybody else was?
It's absolutely vital what you're all doing. I'm so sorry that I have to move you along. It's just, you know, just the kind of show it is. But Matt, as the organizer of bringing together all these people who've shared really important stuff. So what you've showed today very clearly, this is happening all over. This is not just like in Southwest London. So Matt, finish us off. What do you absolutely want people to know about this so that people can help? Because here's the thing, is that we will ultimately pay. Anybody buying from your businesses will ultimately pay, because nothing is for free. So if you have to pay this, you're going to have to raise your charges in some way. So the consumer will be impacted. So Matt, what do people need to know?
I think the residents need to understand exactly what these bids do. So when they're putting on major events, they need to look at Meet the Team and understand what businesses down the high streets are the ones forcing this on people. I think the businesses that are paying it that don't want to pay it need to start talking to each other. I've got 2 big signs up in the front window stating exactly who it is that's on the board, and that the team has been taking money off our business since this certain date, and also the charity shops, because they're charging them as well.
Wow.
And I think started rising up and doing this. If 50% of businesses started putting signs in windows, people would be more aware. If people started talking and just getting together, people would be more aware, because there's strength in numbers.
Absolutely, there is. Thank you so much for bringing those strength in numbers to us today, everybody. Matt Hughill, Kev Farah, Hero Sumner, and Lynn Blackledge. Thank you so much, all of you, for fighting the power in your particular areas. Take good care of yourself.
Thank you.
Out against bids. Absolute extortion on the high street. These people are absolutely right. Every one of them are impacted, or people they know are impacted, and that will ultimately impact us. So we have to help them. Find that Facebook page. I will get the details and I will make sure that we put it in the comments. And yeah, let's get this absolutely stopped. I'm just trying to, oops, not removing for some reason. There we go. And we've just got Matt and Lynn on the screen, and I'm just about to, oops. Oh, hello. Hello. It doesn't want to remove any of you. Clearly wants you to stay. Fair enough.